Brad. Welcome to the podcast and welcome to our video portion of Horse Industry Hype.
Hey, good morning, Regina. Thanks for having me.
So, we're going to just jump right in. I'm going to say to you, I woke up this morning and decided that I wanted to buy a new horse trailer or a new to me horse trailer. And so, the old me, before I read your book, The Honest to Goodness Truth About Horse Trailers, the
Yay.
the old me would have thought, number one, what is my budget? And number two, what do my friends think?
Right, right.
Walk me through what I really should ask myself. Walk me through what the decisions I really should be making, the things that I should be looking for. How should I start this search?
Yeah, so I guess if we were talking to you, my questions would be if you reached out to us, have you ever owned a trailer before? So do you have in mind sort of what works for you, what doesn't work? But I think, it would be similar questions that we ask on this end. How many horses do you need to haul? What's the size of your horses? What about future plans? Are you camping? Are you trail riding? Are you eventing? Do you plan to sleep in it? Are friends going with you, or a husband, or one of your children? And what's the tow vehicle situation? Of course, we don't really build trailers to fit tow vehicles. That never seems to work. You'll certainly want to spec out your trailer needs first before going out and spending a bunch of money on a trailer at a dealer lot, and the dealer's like, oh yeah, it'll pull it fine, no problem. They'll tell you what they want to hear, often not all of them, but some will for sure.
Hmm.
So I think that would be a first step. And then it's important to, I would say, read the book, because it certainly educates you and kind of sharpens you on exactly what to look for. So when someone's talking about, hey, this trailer has an aluminum floor, or this trailer has a wood floor, or a lumber floor, or it's coated with a particular material, you'll know what that information is versus just relying on what a salesperson may tell you. So it's a thought process for sure. I think the folks that wake up and decide to, hey, I'm going to buy a trailer today. I'm going to go down the street to Ted's trailer lot. I'm going to pick one out. He's a great guy, and pull it home. I mean, I've been down that road before, and I find that haste tends to make waste, so to speak. I've had a lot of clients that made hasty decisions and ultimately regretted those. And it ended up costing them a lot more money in the long term. So it's just important to think through what your needs are, what your future needs are, and then also the layout of the trailer. Is it safe for the horse to load? Do you have escape points for yourself? There's so many variables in it that comes down to the safety of the horse. What if you get rear-ended and smacked or side swipe? And the safety of yourself and the comfort of the horse while traveling. Is it insulated? What material is it made of? How does that material impact the horse? So it can be, and it should be, an involved process, especially as much as the things cost these days. It is ridiculous. I mean, back in the late 90s, early 2000, we're building trailers, and you could sell a really nice living quarter trailer for, 20 grand. And now, they're 100. So, I think it's important to invest for the long term, and also think about something that is sellable in the future. Because a trailer cost, we often focus on how much am I going to stroke a check for right out of the gate here? Am I writing a check for $50,000? Well, if you're spending $50,000 on this trailer, and in 5 years from now it's only worth 25, it costs you $25,000. But if it's a $50,000 trailer and you can sell it for close to 50, it really didn't cost you anything to use it all of those years. So the true cost is what you pay for it versus what you can get for it in the future.
Good point. So much to unpack there. I think one of the key pieces, and again, my husband is not involved in the horse industry. And so I've been in the horse industry my entire life. So
Hmm.
when I go to purchase something, I'm relying on myself and I'm relying on my friends' opinions. And it seems to me that, and again, I'm a middle aged woman. I've been involved with horses for a very long time. When the industry made a shift from steel to aluminum, everyone cheered.
Sure.
And yet, reading your book, again, The Honest to Goodness Truth About Horse Trailers, aluminum is not always the best selling point. Talk a little bit about a steel trailer versus an aluminum trailer. And again, when we think about steel, rust, 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 rust. When we think
Right.
about aluminum, it's lightweight, lightweight, lightweight. How fabulous.
Yeah,
Talk
so
about that.
there's a lot of misconception in the industry. Back in the late 70s, early 80s, before aluminum was popular, it was easy for horse trailer manufacturers to build trailers. You could go to the local steel company, buy some flat sheets of metal, some tubing, some angle, set it up in the shop, weld the thing together, and then, haul it in a paint booth and paint it. The problem with that is particularly at the welds and the moisture where the two materials go together, you're going to get some corrosion in that. And then, too, back in the day, the primers and the sealants were just not what we have today. And the sheet metal itself, so the flat portion, that's generally what you would see rust out right out of the gate. And a lot of these builders, they would line the interior of the trailer with rubber or something like that, or plywood, whatever it is, which would be the horse kick material. If you
Hmm.
were to pull that material back, many trailers were not painted behind that. And so right out of the gate, it would be this solid sheet of rust. And excuse me, when aluminum came along, I know Rodney Culp and his dad. I've met Rodney in person, super cool guy, but he's the one that started Featherlight back in the 80s. And then, he sold that and then started X's trailers. And when companies like that came along, the misconception that I think steel was cheap, aluminum was very expensive. So there was a gap in pricing there. And as a consumer, I'm thinking, well, it must be better because it costs a whole lot more, right?
Right?
So we had that to contend with, and it was always marketed as lightweight, easy to tow, lightweight, easy to tow, doesn't rust. So it was really the solution to the problems that had been happening up until then. You fast forward into the 90s and the early 2000s. Manufacturers had more choices. When we started building in the late 90s, we would purchase the same steel tubing, steel angles, things like that. But rather than going with just a raw sheet metal, which had to be primed and painted, else it would rust, we went with this material called galvanneal. And it's basically galvanized metal. It's made for painting. It doesn't rust. It's the same stuff that's in the bed of a pickup truck, except we buy it in the flat sheets. And we figured out pretty quickly, hey, if you seal the seams up where the two materials meet, it keeps the moisture out. The trailer goes together really well. Primers are good. Paints are good. You know what? This thing's pretty dang durable, and it seems like it'll hold up long term. I had a client yesterday, Kelly Gahikadas. She's up in Canada and bought a 2006. So this thing's 20 years old now. It's one of the old steel frame galvanneal skins that we make, and it looked great. It still looked great, and so yeah, she's thrilled with it, and it's still rolling. Um, but if we fast forward, like I was mentioning, the 90s and 2000s, there's just a lot more materials available. And rather than using an all steel or an all aluminum, it started to make more sense to say, hey, when we're doing a floor, what's best for the horse?
Hmm.
When we're building a wall, what's going to be the most structurally sound for the long term when it comes to weight and rust and all of those things and safety of the horse? When we're doing the roof, does it make sense to use a sheet of aluminum or a sheet of steel? Should we insulate it? So those are sort of the thought processes that we went through as a manufacturer. And I even jumped on the bandwagon back in 2009. Everybody's building aluminum trailers. We're doing the Z frame, which is a galvanized type material that doesn't rust, so it still gives us the best of both worlds. But we went with the all aluminum, and I probably built all aluminum stuff for a year. We offered both, and I figured out pretty quickly that was not the business that I wanted to be in. We had cracked welds, we had too much heat transfer. We had dividers that if you got in an accident, they just didn't hold up as well. So we backed away from that quickly and went back to really what was tried and true for us and worked well.
So, what I learned in your book, two things about aluminum. Number one, aluminum is a really good, it carries heat or like it conveys heat.
It
And the
does.
yeah, and I didn't realize that. So like an aluminum roof is you're more likely to kind of cook your horse on the inside of the trailer than not. And then the other thing I learned when it comes to aluminum and when you're constructing trailers is that we worry about steel being so heavy. This whole idea of how heavy is your trailer, this tow weight type of thing. And again, these are terms that I don't really familiarize myself with, but sound important to me as somebody who's going to be hauling down the road by myself. So I'm always worried about weight. Can I stop on a dime? Blah 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 blah. Well, what I learned from your book, it was fascinating to me, is that we backed away from steel because it was heavy. So why we have aluminum? Well, to make the aluminum strong enough, you have to add more aluminum.
That's
And
correct.
so at the end of the day, the weight is about the same. So talk about those two things. The fact that aluminum is what's the term? Conveys heat, carries heat
Yeah, I
readily.
see it a great conductor of heat. Yeah.
Conductor of heat. There you go. So it's a great conductor of heat, which I did not know. And then talk about the second piece is that how you have to add so much aluminum to get the strength of steel that you end up being the same weight to begin with.
Right, right. So, as far as the conductivity, when we use aluminum in the floor of a horse trailer, first of all, urine, the urea in the horse urine doesn't play very nice with the aluminum. A lot of folks think, hey, it's aluminum, it's never going to rust. That is entirely not true. It
Ugh.
will oxidize. The only difference is instead of having the nasty red rust, you'll see a nasty white rust. So that's exactly what it does. We actually have pictures in the book of some that we've traded for over the years with aluminum floor and pulled the mat back and we could see the ground. So
And
that was not cool.
it makes me sick because as a little girl, you hear these horror stories about, yeah, this person was going down the road and the floor gave out and the horse fell to the, these, and I'm not going
Right.
to even finish the visual. But when you think about the safety of a horse trailer for a horse, you're super worried about the floor. Is the floor solid? Is it secure? Is my horse going to be okay? And when I think about steel, you think about the rusting through, but it never occurred to me that with the road heat and the aluminum, that it's not just the solidness of the floor, but it's bringing that heat up.
That's right. That's right. It transfers more heat, more noise, more vibration back to horses' feet and legs than any other material that I can think of on planet Earth. And why the heck, manufacturers continue to, well, I know why they use it because of the extrusions and different things when it comes to building those. They go together quickly.
Hmm.
Quickly results in less labor. You can
Hmm.
build more widgets at a faster pace, which lowers the cost. So that's why a lot of manufacturers continue to use that. But same thing for the roof. It works great for pots and pans and solar panels. And when you stretch a piece of mill finish aluminum, that's the shiny stuff, no paint on it whatsoever. And that's probably what 99% of the manufacturers use. Again, it's quick and it's inexpensive and it's easy to do. When you stretch a piece of that, it's almost like pulling a really thick piece of tin foil from one end of the trailer to the other. In fact, it comes in a coil, like a huge piece of tin foil. And it's a great conductor of heat. It acts like a baking oven. I mean, we did some videos years ago and upper 90s temperature day in North Carolina where I live. We went out with a temperature gun and just, put it on the roof and showed what the digital was. And I think it was, I don't remember the numbers, but it was close to 150 degrees. It was
Oh,
hot.
that's crazy. That is so crazy. And in my uneducated mind, I think shiny aluminum reflects heat, reflects the sun.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah,
think, oh,
no,
it's a
it
reflector.
actually, yeah, it actually absorbs it. It would be better to just paint the top of the roof white. That would help a lot to reflect some of that heat. So those are just properties of aluminum. And then the other thing, it's a very malleable type material. As you mentioned, in order to get the strength, you have to add more material back. And some of the technologies that are available today when it comes to a piece of steel, they have these processes now where they can actually impregnate, so to speak, material into the metal by sending it through an extremely high heat process. It tempers the metal, combines those two with really an unbreakable bond. And when that happens, when you temper metal, you add strength to it. And so the extra strength in the steel, we'll call it, I actually I don't like to use the term steel because it makes in our brain think heavy rust. And that
Hmm.
is just not the case these days. There's material that won't. But so yeah, by tempering the metal, you are able to add more strength. When you add more strength, you can use lighter weight materials and still maintain the strength to weight ratio that you're looking for. Another property about aluminum, and we'll move on quickly, is it's a very brittle type material. So a piece of steel, if I had one in my office here, is my glasses, this will bend and bend and bend and bend before it breaks. If this were made out of a really thick piece of aluminum like this, you would get no bend out of it, no flex whatsoever. And what happens over time is when it gets overstressed, it just won't bend, and all of a sudden it just snaps, it breaks. And when that happens, you really have utter and complete failure. We've seen accidents where the whole gooseneck separated, the whole wall of the trailer came off, and
Oh.
it just sheared loose. They're on the internet, look them up. So
Hmm.
when it
Hmm.
comes to heat, strength, weight, there's just a lot of misconceptions. When we built both, the the composite. I think composite is a better word to use rather than steel
Hmm.
because it is a combination of many different materials that are best in that application. But when we built both, I built a two-horse straight load bumper pull, 15-foot, 10-foot stalls, pretty run-of-the-mill trailer. And the composite, we built another one in all aluminum. And there was less than 5% difference between the weight of those two. So a well-built aluminum trailer, one meaning it's fully insulated, it has thick enough materials that you're going to have a similar strength ratio as you would with a composite or a steel trailer. It is going to weigh darn close to there's just not going to be a tremendous amount of difference. And while we're on weight, I mean, I guess, a peeve of mine is it's always, well, lighter is better, lighter is better. And that's just not the case. I mean, I think I made a comment in the book. I'm like, the heavier it is, the better it is because you have
Hmm.
more strength, more material. Go buy a tow vehicle that's capable of doing that. There's plenty out there that'll do it. So we have a lot of consumers on the road today that are just pulling trailers that are too heavy with vehicles that aren't really rated to do that.
Hmm.
And when you're at the top capacity of what a vehicle would do, it doesn't mean that it won't pull it. It doesn't mean that you can't do it for 10 years and never have a problem, but you never have a problem until you have a problem.
Oh, right?
And
That's the
and
big fear.
when that happens, the weak link, that's what's going to mess up and break. So,
Hmm. Yeah, trying to figure out what safety features, what what matters if you do happen to get, unfortunately, into an accident. And I've seen so many trailers that just kind of collapse on themselves like an accordion, and that makes me feel sick.
Right.
And, we're hauling precious cargo, absolute precious cargo. And so none of us want to be in that situation or see any of our friends or family or even anyone that we know, any horseman that we know get in a trailer accident, because that's everyone's worst fear.
Right.
So talking about tongue weight. I hear this term tongue weight all the time. And so when we're talking about a bumper pull trailer or a trailer that hooks to the ball on the backside and the back end of a truck, tongue weight, that's the part of the trailer that just kind of comes into the V, right? And I know I sound very uneducated because I am. And I purposefully left myself uneducated on this topic because I want you to explain to me about what is tongue weight and what's the importance of that.
Sure. So, another misconception that we often run into with buyers, I have a new Chevy Tahoe or Suburban, right? It will tow 8,800 pounds. I'm looking for a two-horse bumper pull. The weight of that bumper pull is 5,000. My two horses weigh 1,000 each, so that's 5, 6, 7. My vehicle will tow close to 9. I have plenty of cushion, so yeah, it'll do it. Life is good.
Yeah.
But, the weak link in the equation, a load is only as strong as the weakest part of that. And it comes down to, on tow vehicles, it's payload. So it's not, I often present to our clients, I say, imagine a dresser in your bedroom. You want to move it. My girls, they love to rearrange their bedroom all the time. Well, they can push and pull and drag that thing around all over the place, right? And it
Hmm.
weighs, 150 pounds, right? Fully
Hmm.
loaded. But if I ask them to pick up one end of the dresser and then try to pick it up and pull it in that manner, they can't do it. So what they can tow would be how much they can push and pull, but what they can carry is an entirely different amount. And that same Chevy Suburban that we're talking about actually has a tongue weight rating of 800 pounds on the hitch. And this two-horse bumper pull that we're referring to has a tongue weight of 1,100 pounds. So in that scenario, even though it will pull it, it's not really designed to carry it. And
Interesting.
yeah, the payload it's always the weak link. It really is.
Hmm.
Whether it's a gooseneck or a bumper pull, clients they look at that really, and manufacturers, bless their heart, vehicle manufacturers, they should be held more accountable. They make this stuff so difficult to try to figure out. They'll advertise the big number. Oh, it'll tow 15,000 pounds. And you go to a dealer lot, and half of them can't tell you what it'll actually carry. They don't
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
it's hard to get the information. It really is.
Along those lines, bumper pulls versus the gooseneck hitches.
Hmm.
I think generally speaking, the industry considers a gooseneck hitch to be the better approach. Would you, in your experience, would you agree? So you want to haul two horses. You could either get a bumper pull with a dressing room, or you can even get a two horse gooseneck where the dressing room is in that gooseneck approach without a living quarter.
Right.
Generally speaking, is a gooseneck hitch more secure, more reliable than a bumper pull hitch?
So I'll answer that in a couple different stages. I certainly don't have a problem um, recommending a bumper pull as long as it's being towed by an adequately equipped tow vehicle. And I think what gives bumper pulls a bad rap often, it came unhitched or it was in an accident and it was too much. It's the fact that the trailer is being towed by a vehicle that is not equipped to carry it. We're at the
Mhm.
top end of that load, or we're pulling that 1,100-pound tongue weight with our Chevy Suburban that is really only rated for 800 pounds. If a bumper pull becomes disconnected, it doesn't mean that the coupler failed or the ball failed or any of that stuff broke. It just means you didn't latch the thing properly.
Right.
9 times out of 10, that's exactly what it is. I had a client, it was several years ago. She's like, I hooked it up and before I got out of my driveway, it popped off the ball and the chains caught it and the front end was dragging in the dirt and that type thing. And there's something wrong with it. It's defective. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's a piece of metal that clamps around another piece of metal with two different shapes, and it would be it would take a tremendous amount of pressure to break that. Maybe if the trailer rolled over, it may pop off. When it comes to a gooseneck, we did a show up in Winston-Salem years ago, many years ago. And when we came back from the show, my dad pulled one of the trailers. It was a 2 horse. He pulled it with a 1/2 ton truck. It's an empty trailer, no horses in it. And when we arrived back to our factory and got ready to disconnect the gooseneck and lift it off the ball, Dad didn't connect it. He never latched it. In fact, so you have the ball that sits up in the trailer and it should go down over the ball and then clamp. He had clamped it, so it just kind of sat down on top of the ball.
Oh my
Nice. Yeah, this
gosh.
is my dad. This is, 20 some years ago. And this is before we knew much of anything about what we were doing at that time, I guess. But point being, he pulled that thing all the way from Winston-Salem. So it's a 3.5 hour drive back to the East Coast. And at speeds of 70, 75 miles an hour, and it did not come off. So,
Wow.
in that respect, if it had been a bumper pull, it probably would have bounced off for
Hmm.
sure.
Hmm.
But the fact that the gooseneck had more tongue weight being distributed back to that tow vehicle, praise God, it stayed on the ball and didn't, come off. So
Jump
I
off.
would say the safety of the gooseneck when it comes to the person that's hooking it up, if you don't do it correctly, you're certainly going to have a greater chance of it not coming off on a gooseneck versus a bumper pull. Now, when we move up to a 3 horse, or we need to haul 4 horses, so the trailer has to become much longer, the tongue weight tends to increase a lot more, the sway can be greater. You really need a much larger vehicle to handle that, almost like a dually to get that
Hmm.
stability. And so, really, anything greater than 3 horses, in my opinion, you should go with the gooseneck. That's where the
Hmm.
safety is at.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you can put the wheels farther back. It'll distribute the load better, and it's just the way to go for those larger loads.
You know, interesting story, and I wouldn't have admitted this until your story was just shared, but I hauled my horse and my mom's pony to the vet just for some routine vet work. And I think it's so important to know your trailer because I hooked up my trailer, hauled the horses, and as I was turning corners and I was going over railroad tracks, my trailer was making sounds that I wasn't used to hearing. You know, I know my trailer. I haul it all the time, da da da. So then we went through everything. We got home. I went to unhook my trailer, and similarly to what your dad did, I my gooseneck was on the ball, but
Uh-huh.
I had not clipped it in place, or like the little clip did not go down in.
Right.
I skipped that step, Brad.
Mhm.
I mean,
Mhm.
it makes me sick to my stomach to think about it. And so then as I was hauling and I was hearing kind of this grind sound, it was really because the trailer was not tight onto that ball because I hadn't clipped it in place.
Mhm.
I didn't have any issues. If my mother, who is in the truck with me, is listening to this right now or watching this, she's going to be horrified because I never admitted it to her. But, know your trailer. Now knowing what I know, I should have stopped somewhere, looked and had been like, and honestly, I just assumed it was because I hadn't used my trailer in a couple months. So maybe
Right.
there was debris. I didn't know, but know your trailer, right? Know your trailer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you hear something that sounds a little wonky, stop and check it out for sure.
Yeah. So what questions am I not asking that I should be asking? What what elements should I be thinking about if I'm going out to consider buying a brand new trailer today or a new to me trailer? What things am I not asking you, or what topics have we not talked about that I should give consideration to?
Well, I think layout, number of horses will dictate that tremendously. Obviously, if you're needing to haul six, your options are probably a 6 horse slant or a 6 horse head to head, and they both have their pros and cons. So it would be important to sort of be able to talk through those and ask, can my horse load safely if we're doing a straight load? Do my horses like to be thrown in reverse? Will they back up? A lot of horses don't. And in a head to head, you're going to have to back the guys in the front stall. So layout is a tremendous thing, and that's one of the areas today that many manufacturers could certainly improve on. You know, we talk about rear tax often in our marketing and how a majority that are out there, if you look at a 2 horse, 3 horse, 4 horse, whatever rear tack, again, everybody builds them the same way and they have a narrow door that the horse loads through. I call that the birth canal. And then on the other side is where the tack goes. Well, that's well and good for a self-loader, but what about one that doesn't load well and you have to walk that horse in? You're in a tight space, and particularly in that back stall, where the heck are you going to go? There's no
Hmm.
space for you. So you've got a 1,200-pound animal, and you're trying to slither in beside him and her in between the tack walls. So, give me a break. I would never do that. I want to be where I can get out of the way at all times because we have clients that have had horses for 15 years. And again, you never have a problem until you have the problem,
Oh,
right?
right.
And so you
Yeah.
just want to make sure in your layout that your horse can load lots of space. They can lower their head to cough and clear dust and debris. There's exit points for you. You're never in an area where it's dangerous. I personally don't like horses backing up. We have folks that insist on, and that would be another topic. If you're buying a 2 horse, am I going to do a straight load? Am I going to do a slant load? All of those things. But we have folks that purchase straight loads from us. They insist that that's what they want. And we've had two in the last month to reach out and say, hey, when my horse is trying to back out on the rear ramp, they're having issues. And I'm like, they can't see where they're going. If you had put a side ramp on it, or you could walk them in and walk them out, it would have been so much better. But instead, now the horse is having a negative hauling experience. It's going to increase that cortisol level. When you try to load the next time, they're not going to want to go in because they remember the problems they had. So that's what we face often, is not so much wrong materials and everything else. It's just a bad layout or a poor
Mm-hmm.
design. And I think that as a team here, we really excel at creating those layouts that are safe for horse and safe for handler. And that's really
Mm-hmm.
what it should be. If you're going to buy an aluminum trailer or a steel trailer or whatever it is, get the layout. If you don't get anything else right, get the layout correct. And that's a big deal.
Good advice. So, as we wrap this up, you literally wrote the book, The Honest to Goodness Truth About Horse Trailers, a comprehensive guide to safety, maintenance, and purchasing. And one of the things that really impressed me when we were getting to know each other and talking about this project is that I said to you, what is the purpose here? And you pretty much said, I'll give you a free book. I am not trying to sell anything. It's an honest to goodness desire to do something positive in the horse industry by sharing what I know.
That's right.
Thank you for that.
You're,
I
you're
mean, thank you for that. I mean, that is truly the type of approach that we need in this industry to help people like me kind of weigh the pros and the cons to, what features do I need to consider when we go on this journey? Because when you buy a horse, everybody says the purchase price of a horse is nothing, right?
Right.
Even if you spend $100,000, because when you get the horse, now you need equipment, now you need tech, now you need the truck, you need the trailer. And the trailer is probably one of the most significant investments for your safety, your horse's safety, and for your continued success.
Right.
So,
Right.
really grateful. Why did you do this? I mean, I know that you want to contribute to the horse industry, but did you wake up one day and say, "Gosh darn it, I know enough that I want to write the book"? What was the catalyst for you writing this book?
Yeah, we have so much information on our website. There's over 400 pages of articles that we've built over the years. And again, folks that are really interested in learning more and researching what's the best for my horse, they love our information online, but it's often difficult to find. And which link do you click on, and which article is it? And who wants to sit and thumb and thumb and thumb and scroll and try to figure all of that stuff out? You can literally do hours of it. And then we have some folks that they want the information, but for lack of a better term, they're just too lazy to go and look for it, right? And they want to call us up on the phone and have us spend 2 hours with them explaining and regurgitating all the stuff that's already out there
Mm-hmm.
for them to do on their own time.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, my oldest daughter, she's 28, Brooke. She's our marketing manager. We work in the same office. She's fantastic. She said, "Daddy, you should just write a book,
Yeah.
and we'll start sending those things out." So we had some smart folks, people that are a lot smarter than me, that helped with that. Rachel and Brooke and different ones. And I was just sort of the information guy, and they, broke it down and put the topics for us. But we wrote the book, and yeah, our mission today, we are actively working with many organizations. We're the official trailer sponsor for Equus Film Festival, as well as the Mustang Summit. And Lisa Dearson is a fantastic connection and friend on that. Everywhere Lisa goes, she promotes our brand and our book.
Mm-hmm.
She gives away books. When we're at Equine Affair in Massachusetts this fall, we're giving away 12,000 books. 12,000 books.
Giving
And
away. And that's
giving
just, I mean,
my
that
cost
is
on the
fantastic.
author copy is just under $4 a book. So you do the math. It is a huge investment. But
Mm-hmm.
if we can educate the market on giving consumers, giving clients, giving horse owners, equestrian enthusiasts, information that where when you go out to make a purchase, you're armed with what you need to know. You
Mm-hmm.
didn't listen to whatever advice your trainer said or what advice your best friend said. Because in the book, I think, and you can chime in on this, I don't what your thoughts are. I really tried to just keep it data driven, not
Absolutely.
necessarily my opinion, because everybody has an opinion. I've had so many folks come to, well, my trainer said I need this. And I said, well, I'm not trying to be a smart tail, but tell your
Mm-hmm.
trainer to stick with training the horses and let the trailer folks explain to you what, the reasons in and out for the trailer. And I think the book just kind of dumbs it down, so to speak, almost cliff notes for horse trailers. I mean, praise God for cliff notes. That's what I lived on in high school through English and such, right?
Yeah.
And it's just a cliff note for buying a horse trailer. So even if you have one now and you're not looking to buy one, I think it's just an eye opener. We were at Western States Horse Show in Sacramento. We're going all over the country. We're doing seminars on trailer safety and speaking and giving away books. And we had a person there that picked up the book while she was there, and the following week reached out to us and she said, "Wow, I didn't realize how crappy my trailer is." And she has ordered a new trailer from us, and getting rid of the one that she has now. So it's
Mm-hmm.
really just about education. That's
It
it.
is. And I am truly grateful. And I know the people that I've shared your book with are truly grateful that someone has taken the time to explain it to those of us who, like I said at the beginning of this interview, would think, okay, what's my budget? And what do my
Mhm.
friends tell me I should buy? Period.
Yeah. What's my budget? How much can I tow?
Yep.
And what do my
I don't
friends?
I don't even worry about how much I can tow. I just assume that I can tow. I'm just
Right.
gonna, oh, I don't know. So anyway, thank you so, so very much. If people want to find your book, you have your Double D Trailers website,
Mhm.
and that is Double D Trailers, DOUBLED trailers.com.
Sure.
And your book is available through your website, and then also they can find it pretty
It's
much
on
any
Amazon. Yeah.
Amazon and
Yeah, just go
everywhere.
to Amazon,
So,
type in honest to goodness truth. It'll pull up there. On
yep.
our website, doubledtrailers.com/book, you can actually sign up and request a free book, and we'll mail you one for free. I think the digital copies like $1 on Amazon, maybe $2, I can't remember,
Hmm.
and the paper copies are 9 or 10 bucks. So it's not. I haven't really gotten rich yet to where I could retire off the royalties of the book. That's not necessarily my goal. So it's just a matter we want to some of the equestrian centers that we're partnering with, like a Biricon down in Ocala, Florida, that's coming up, and yeah, lots of those. I said my goal is to get every single horse owner in the United States to read this book. That's what my goal is. I want one in the hands of every single person. And I think then and only then is when we can see meaningful change in the trailer industry. When a customer goes to a dealer lot and they say, you know what, I'm not going to buy this trailer because the head dividers are solid. It limits visibility. It creates additional claustrophobia, more cortisol, more stress. The stalls are too small for my warm blood. We hear that all the time. I can't use the slant because my horses are too big. Well, there's nothing wrong with the slant. It's just the trailer's too small.
Hmm.
So if we can educate, that's where it's at.
I certainly am looking at my trailer a little differently. And I know that this probably isn't the last trailer that I'm going to own. And so I feel much better educated, much more educated on the
Good.
topic of trailers and trailer safety. So thank you, Brad. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for writing this book. It matters.
Absolutely. My pleasure, of course. And thank you for having us, giving us the opportunity.